Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I am back to work on the temple today, and I'll be attaching the top section to the midsection, and I'll be making some transitional pieces. You can see them mocked up in plasticine here, so it'll be a busy day. The transitional pieces will go around the corners, so there'll be another piece in here. It'll come out to here, and then there'll be another piece on top, so it'll form the corner of the structure. I'll cast it in two pieces. There'll be like an L shape and a smaller one up top. That'll help take away this undercut section and give everything a little more support. It also matches the original Cambodian temples a little more accurately. Here's a little more accurate of a model of what I want the corner to look like. So it'll be a stepped up piece. So there'll be the top L shape and the bottom L shape. Once again, I'll roll out the clay to make my forms to cast the parts. This will get all the parts to the right thickness so it looks like stones stacked up on top of each other and make it look like an authentic temple. Hopefully. A lot of people have been asking me about the final weight of all this, and it won't be that heavy. Compared to, if you look at some of those big monster trees that they collect from the mountains, they're in huge pots and the tree's heavy and the soil's heavy. It won't be any different than, growing a large bonsai, the weight of the pot. It'll probably take two people to lift it, which means it's a four-hand tree, I guess. Or planting. The tree won't be that heavy, but the cement and the pot and the soil and that will make it quite heavy. However, you just have to get someone to help you when you go to move it. Okay, I can begin cutting this piece up now. This is the piece I want to make, so I've got to surround it with forms. I don't need my forms that thick, so I'll cut them in half. This piece in half. Somewhere about there, and I'll cut it with the knife. Like that. So that's the sides of my forms. Like that. So then I've got to make this angle, and that clears the heads. So I'll just cut it off square for starters. Make my lengths. Like that. One over here. Like that. So all I have to do now is figure out that angle, what I'm going to do there. So I have to get that angle on the piece somehow. I could shape it to that in the end, so I could cut my mold away at the angle, and then when I'm pouring the concrete, make sure it's kind of on an angle at the ends. It's not that critical, this angle. It's just got to clear the heads when I put this piece in the corner, and then I'll cement it up against the heads. So I've made it so there's lots of clearance. So something like that. I think I will cut the mold away on the angle. Like that. And that shows me where I've got to cast the cement. This one will be on the angle too. So this will be a little tricky. Casting it, and want to flow out the ends at first, but once it starts hardening, I can shape the chamfers on the ends here. I've got all four molds made for the corner pieces, so I'll mix up some cement and start making them. I've got my first two corner pieces cast now. It went quite well. The chamfers were quite easy to form on the piece. So I've got two more to go. I've got my sarissa basking in the sunlight down there, so that tree will be very happy. Up here, I'm working on the molds. So I've got my 4 molds for the corners, the upper corner ones made. They're all slightly different sizes. I don't know how I managed to do that, but that'll be fine. So this is the piece I'm making here, the little corner piece. So I'll cast those, and I can probably start taking the molds off of my other pieces I made already. So we'll do that. I've got all the pieces cast that I'll need to assemble the top of the temple to the mid part. So I'm not going to take these out of the mold yet because I kind of fixed them up a bit. I ran low on cement on some of them. So I just kind of fixed them up a little bit. So I'll let those dry, and I'll let the new pieces dry here. And then we can take them out of the molds and soak everything down and begin assembly. I haven't let the pieces dry for very long, maybe an hour, but I think it'll be okay to take it out of the mold. So let's try it. I'll start with the ones that I cast first. They should be plenty dry. And these aren't very complicated shapes, so I don't think there'll be any problem. All right, there it is. It's looking pretty L-shaped, and it's got the chamfers. I may have to do a little adjusting to make sure it fits properly, but nice and flat on the bottom. It should sit on the piece quite well. Well, there's one out. Let's get number 2. There we go. Get it loose. That one looks quite nice. Another successful one. So that's 2 corner pieces. Yeah, that looks fine also. And the last larger corner piece anyway. Just a little bit of cleanup work, but they're pretty good. I think they're going to work really nicely. Now, should I take the little ones out now? I think if I'm careful, I can do it. I'm going to try it. Here I go. There it is. A bit of flashing on the top, but you can see the L shape. That might need a little cleanup. It's a little bit strange looking. There's the second little one. There's that one. That one turned out quite nice. Yeah, that looks good. Number 3 of the small pieces. There it is. That one looks quite fine. And the last one. There it is. Another L-shaped piece. So, the next step, I'll want to kind of fit them all up to the temple, to the base of the temple. And so it might involve a little filing on them. I don't know. Just to clean them up a bit. So I'll do that, and then we'll come back and see how it looks. I'm fitting up the corner blocks on the temple here, and I'm thinking they look a little heavy, and I was thinking I kind of want the transition from the square corners to more of a rounded form at the base. So I'm going to try chamfering the outside edges of these new pieces just to soften it up. I was looking at my reference photos, and a lot of them are rounded on the corners, and I don't know if that's from erosion or if they were made that way to begin with. They maybe had fancy carvings around it. But that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to try chamfering it just to take a bit of weight off this corner. It looks a little heavy to me. I think that looks much better with the chamfered corner. So there's one kind of chamfered. And on this side they're square. They just look a little more blocky on this side and heavy. This side looks a little more refined. And I think it kind of blends in well with the sprites underneath. So yeah, I think I'll make them chamfered like that. I've got all my corner pieces fitted to the temple. I'm going to cement these corner pieces onto the middle part first because that will align the top part so it fits in there perfectly. I don't want to cement the top part on and have it slightly offset and then nothing fits very well. So that's my plan, to cement the corners on first and then the top piece. So I'm going to soak everything down with water, mix up my cement, and cement those corner pieces in place. I've got the larger corner pieces cemented in place now. So you can see from the top how it'll align the top of the temple. It'll fit in this square because this one has a square base at the bottom. Yeah, so I think it's looking quite good. I'm going to cement the top ones on next, and then we'll test fit the temple, the top of the temple, to the middle part. That'll be exciting. I've got the top corner pieces cemented in place. You can see them there. So, I've got to let them dry, and then I'll have to very carefully make sure the top of the temple fits there exactly. And then I can cement that in place. That'll be exciting. So it should be good and strong with these corner pieces. There's lots of surface area for the cement to grip. So yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be a big step forward. I had to change my plans. The top part of the temple, I was just trying to test fit it, and it didn't fit at all within that square. I think the bottom square under the top part of the temple is larger than the one it sits on top of, and it didn't fit at all. So I had to break off these corner pieces that I just cemented on. So these ones, like that. So I'll have to cement the top part of the temple on first and then cement the corner pieces on. It just didn't fit the other way. You know, build up tolerances and stuff, and yeah, it wouldn't have fit at all. I would have had to do a lot of carving to get them to fit within that square. So this will solve a lot of problems. So at least the corner pieces are now, you know, one piece. I've got the top cemented to the bottom nicely. So I can cement the top of the temple on now, and then cement the corner pieces in to hold it securely in place. I've got the top of the temple cemented to the midsection. It's looking really good. Looks nice and strong. The new corner pieces look good. I'll show you it around here. See a bit of the sun on it. Yeah, kind of like it, eh? It'll look great with a ficus tree growing over top. So a good solid top to the temple. Now we just got to build the bottom part with the doors and everything. That'll be quite a challenge, that. But it'll be fun. Yeah, so that's my temple for my root over temple ficus. I've had a lot of questions about how am I going to plant the ficus on top of this temple. And I'm going to do it in stages. What I don't want is I don't want to plant the tree up top and have single long roots running down the entire temple. I don't like that look. I kind of did that on my other root over temple, and I really dislike that. So this time I'm going to plant the tree, have sphagnum moss and a plastic bag around it, grow the root system down to a certain level, and then I'll remove that sphagnum moss, add another section below, prune the roots so they further subdivide, grow it down some more, prune it again so they further subdivide. So instead of getting, you know, one long single root growing down the entire temple, it'll come down and subdivide and subdivide and subdivide. So it'll create like a lattice work around the entire temple. And it'll kind of follow along all the crevices and that and look very realistic and miniature, I hope. So that's the plan, is to do it in stages. So not great big long roots draping down over the temple and into the soil. I've got to do it in stages to get that fine ramification of the root system to make it look authentic. Tomorrow we're getting our first day of warm weather, 6 degrees above freezing. That'll be nice. That's quite a change. So we get 2 days of good weather and then I think 2 days of rain, which is actually good because I can collect more rainwater. I'm starting to get low in my barrel once again. So I can collect rainwater, refill the barrel in the plant room here, and all will be well. It was nice to get the temple all put together, the top section and the mid section. I think it looks really good. I still have a lot of detail work to do in the top section, getting all my lines between my stones in place. But that'll come another day. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.